Salutations, people of the internet. Welcome to the database. Yep, I'm back with Mario this time around, and this time I'll be looking at his 3D beginnings. The mid-90s has seen a bunch of changes, a change in television programming, a change in music and fashion, but none seen any other drastic changes than in the video game industry. The mid-90s was the start of the video games pushing the boundaries of graphical capabilities. Many games around this time experimented transitioning from 2D to 3D. The experiment of 3D in gaming for Nintendo dates back to the infamous release of the Virtual Boy in 1995, a console so infamous for having two color palettes for the library of 22 games.
Virtual Boy, see it now in 3D.
3D Tetris. What the f do you want me to say about this? The Virtual Boy deserves a video of its own, but I want to mention the Virtual Boy because this serves as a stepping stone for what Nintendo will call as the next generation home console. The Nintendo 64, then known as the Ultra 64, but let's call this the N64 for short going forward, is the console that dished out 64-bit polygonal graphics, compared to its competitors dishing out 32-bit games. How's that working out for them?
$2.99.
Oh yeah, I don't have to mention this, do I? It is the first controller to have an analog stick for movement, triggers, and camera buttons, and a big dong sticking out hide your kids. It also has, for the first time, Nintendo providing 4 controller ports, emphasizing multiplayer in their games, and an expansion pack for stronger games like Donkey Kong 64, the best game, and Super Smash Bros., the worst game ever conceived. Thank you, I'll see myself out. However, for kids of 1996, they don't care about graphic specs or how the PlayStation is outdoing Nintendo with its wacky marsupial. No, they care about the game that was launching with the N64 at the time, Super Mario 64, the first 3D Mario game. Or was it Pilot Link 64? Anyone play that? So, this is Mario now. Feels right, controlling him in a 3D landscape. This is the first area you get to run around. It's outside Peach's castle, where you get accustomed to the new controls. You can mess around with Mario doing triple jumps, slides, swimming, climbing trees, and my favorite thing to do, jump dives and long jumps. The long jumps, especially as its backward counterpart, was the essential tool for speedrunners used to beat the game in less than an hour. Once that's settled, you're introduced to Lakitu, who serves as your cameraman for the game. The camera here is controlled with the N64's camera buttons. Yeah, no second analog stick for this controller, which is something Sony established with the DualShock controllers. The camera can be switched into 2 perspectives, which I never bothered doing. Learning the controls makes Mario a breeze to play through. Yeah, he's a bit stiff because of the analog stick, but sometimes I see this as a learning curve to improve upon in future 3D Mario games. Mastering the controls opens up to quickly getting Power Stars very early. Power Stars being the main MacGuffins of the game. Before we get to anything else, let's look at the story. Bowser, Peach, kidnapped. Okay, moving on. There is nothing much to say with the story here, as it's the same as every single Mario game in existence. Heck, when booting up the game, the first thing you hear is a jingle of World 1-1. Familiarity at its finest. In order to unlock some of the stages here, that's where Power Stars come into play. This only applies to the first floor. The rest of unlocking levels apply to star-shaped doors that lead to Bowser stages, which gives you keys that unlock the basement and top floor after beating the King Koopa. Some stars require you to look around the castle, while some require special hats that add something to Mario's moveset. The wing cap you get from red blocks lets Mario glide in mid-air, whether you do a triple jump or launch Mario out of a cannon like a circus clown.
And remember, kids, TV violence is fine as long as you don't show a nipple.
The invisible cap that you get from blue blocks makes you invisible for a short time, immune to enemies, and lets you pass through walls. The green block gives you a metal cap, which says for itself, plus makes you heavier underwater. These caps are bad, but feel very situational, where you only end up using these items for specific power-ups and power stars and nothing much. Super Mario 64 has a total of 120 stars to collect. There are over 15 courses to jump around with, each having 7 stars. 6 that are listed on the mission screen, and the 7th one given to you after collecting 100 coins. 7 times 50, that's 105 stars, which gives you the remaining of 15 scattered throughout Peach's castle, and 3 of them are in Bowser stages. While they look outdated now, the courses here are one of the most memorable in the Mario franchise. Hunting Boos in a haunted mansion, switching from small to big with a green pipe, climbing up a clock tower. On the inside, these stages are instantly nostalgic. While each stage gives you a different star, some of the stage can feel very similar to one another, as each star has missions of the same objective. Each course has you collecting 8 red rings, for example. Bomb Bomb Battlefield and Tiny Huge Island has you racing against Koopa the Quick, finding X amount of secrets in a stage, and the 100 coins. Nothing is more frustrating than finding 100 coins in a single stage to receive a star. Some 100 coin missions are easy, like having to find them in Womp's Fortress, but some can be nerve-wracking, like in Rainbow Ride or Tick-Tock Clock. Don't get me wrong, getting 100 coins isn't as hard as it looks. These courses are very open-ended, where you get to choose a power star that you collect at your own pace. Like in Bomb Bomb Battlefield, the first mission is to face King Babam at the top of the mountain, but instead I went to get the star behind this chain chomp. I could face a big Womp on top of the fortress, but with this double jump into a wall jump, I could grab this star instead. Super Mario 64 is a game that rewards you with finding these MacGuffins after mastering Mario's agile maneuverability. It doesn't offer you soft lock you into nabbing the number of stars required to get to the last stage, because by the time you beat the second Bowser fight, you practically have enough stars already to face Bowser one last time. Now you only need 70 of the 120 stars to get to the final stage, but that doesn't stop you to getting all 119 of them before getting there. I know a few people that did this, and getting all the stars is the best way to see each course as a whole. Although I can't say grace for courses that I find as unimpressive compared to others. Rainbow Ride is a pain to get through, slow carpet rides, and a lack of room for Mario's acrobatic movement. Same goes with Tick-Tock Clock, and the courses that have water in them like Jolly Roger Bay and Dire Dire Docks take forever to complete, although the music is nice. If you figure out from the footage so far, I've been capturing footage from the 3D All-Stars version of Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo Switch. In this version, Nintendo decided to use the Shindo version of the game from the Nintendo 64 DD, a disk drive add-on that was only released in Japan. This version features rumble support in the game, along with different sound effects. But the worst of all, taking away the infamous yet popular backwards long jump.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Now, I'm not saying that I'm pissed that they did this on a compilation that has 3 games. I just think Nintendo only considered the rumble feature and nothing else. Like, I don't mind this change, and the rumble is fine and all, but why cut out the BLJ? I never gotten that. It's not like the BLJ killed somebody at Nintendo's office or something.
There's really no need to...
I mentioned that I like the music from the other water courses like Jolly Roger Bay and Dire Dire Docks. That's not the only soundtrack I enjoy in this game. Need I remind you the opening title screen? There's also the music from Bomb Bomb Battlefield and Womp's Fortress, and the music in Bowser stages will come back in remix in Super Mario Galaxy games. Obviously, I can't play all the Nintendo songs for copyright reasons, but check them out on YouTube if you have the chance. No Luigi though, and I heard that he was supposed to be in the game, but not. At least that's what the statue in the fountain says, but I might be wrong. Also, before anybody hates me without mentioning this is the first time Mario gets a voice in a video game. He was voiced by none other than Charles Martinet, who's been the voice of Mario, Luigi, Waluigi, and Wario for over 30 years at this point. Even though he actually voiced Mario and Mario Teaches Typing long before Mario 64 was out.
I'm going to fly for you.
See what we can say. will walk through walls.
We will take a look around us.
We will not be confined.
We believe in the path of least limits.
We won't be told how to view the world.
We will experience true freedom.
We will not compromise. We will live the game through our hands.
We will be in control of something.
We will change the system.
And that was Super Mario 64, and this was a great transition from Mario into 3D. It's not the greatest of all time, that would be Odyssey and the two Galaxy games. Mario 64 serves as the foundation layout for future 3D Mario games that are released afterwards. Granted, the formula for 3D Mario games changed in each installment, but if it weren't for the success of 64, we wouldn't get games like Sunshine, Galaxy, and Odyssey. The controls may feel stiff, but at the time for kids growing up in the 90s, this was probably baby's first Mario game for many years. The controls, with the controller layout in mind, perfectly go hand in hand with this game. The camera uses simple button presses. Anybody can easily learn all of Mario's moves as they play the game, though there is the option of reading billboards that tell you about Mario's moves and about the courses, if you ever need it. While you're restricted to having to collect a certain number of stars to progress, Super Mario 64 doesn't tie you down to what stars you need to collect to do so. The courses feel like a little playground Mario can run and jump around. There is nothing stopping you from collecting all the stars before transitioning to the next course, making them feel like you're in an open world sandbox. What do you know? I know speedrunners love this game for sure, and it seems like it's still an active community. Each speedrun I've seen, you got people doing perfect dives and wall jumps, BLJs left and right, and you even got speedruns of people completing the game with no stars. Though of course I'm not good at doing any of this and only managed to clear the game at around 16 stars one time. So what are your thoughts on Super Mario 64? Is there any other Mario game you want me to see review in another retrospective? Let me know in the comments section down below. Thumbs up the video if you like it, subscribe to the database, and follow me on social media as seen above. This is CJ Styles, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
Salutations, people of the internet. Welcome to the database. You know, growing up here, no matter what season it is in your area, it's always sunny in Hawaii. No joke, it's always freaking hot here, so much I never experienced the cold air of winter or the change in leaves in autumn. Someday, not now, but someday, I like to move out of Hawaii and experience the winter on my own. But for now, all of this is just to say I'm talking about Super Mario Sunshine this week. Released in 2002, a year after the launch of the Nintendo GameCube, Super Mario Sunshine is the second next step into Mario's platforming in 3D. It's considered by many Mario fans as the black sheep out of all 3D Mario games that came before and after this. Many factors include its difficulty spike, to how the game's collectibles are handled compared to its 64 predecessor. It has fine-tuned some of the issued general mechanics from Super Mario 64, while also introducing a new mechanic that would make this game stand out in the form of water. To be fair, this would make sense to review this game during the summer, but I know for damn sure American states like California, Florida, and Hawaii never experience any snow. So reviewing this game now is justified. While everyone around the world is enjoying the cold, I'm gonna enjoy the nice hot sun by reviewing Super Mario 64. Let's begin.
Super Mario Sunshine! Woohoo!
Well, after dealing with the King Koopa invading the insides of Peach's castle, this justifies the Mushroom Kingdom having a tropical vacation. As the Mushroom residents travel to Isle Delfino, home of the dumbest residents of the island, the Piñatas, upon landing, they notice a large amount of goop on the driveway as Mario also found Flood,
A flash liquidizer ultra dowsing device.
made by Professor Egad from Luigi's Mansion, a spin-off game that launched alongside the GameCube that stars Luigi in a leading role since Mario is missing. With Flood, he uses it to get rid of the goop, but suddenly sees himself getting arrested by the Piñata police, and was sentenced by court of law to clean the goop mess around the island. Gathering the game's MacGuffins known as Shine Sprites, and finding the actual perpetrator who caused all this to begin with. This doesn't justify these dumbasses don't know the difference between an actual criminal and a human being.
Our first job's to get rid of all that ugliness. And remember, we'll be watching you, pal. We'll know if you start slacking off.
This sure doesn't get old. Later on, Princess Peach gets kidnapped by the actual perpetrator that caused the goop on the island, Shadow Mario, who later reveals himself to be Bowser Jr., the son of King Bowser. Ignore the implications of Bowser fucking Peach.
Mama Peach? I'm your mama?
As Junior and Peach heads towards Mountain. What do you mean I can't say anymore? As Junior and Peach heads towards Mountain, the rest of Mario's adventure is now gathering all the shines in 7 different locations of the island, returning the shines and brightness to Isle Delfino and spraying Shadow Mario in all locations, rescuing Peach again. Before we get to the stages, I want to talk about Mario's new mobility options here. And controlling him in this game feels really good, but glitchy at the same time. I'm playing this on the 3D All-Stars collection with the support of the GameCube controller and adapter. This was patched in a few weeks after the compilation's release, and even with the authenticity of the controller in mind, this feels a lot smoother than 64's limited movement of the analog stick group. Oh my god, they even fixed the camera for analog movement too. The new and improved movement makes side somersaults fun to use and abuse, which was my preferred method of getting extra height. That and this tornado spin Mario does when you spin the analog stick in a 360-degree motion. They brought back the dive maneuver from 64 as well as the triple jump and the ground pound. The one trick they decide to remove here is the long jump, which is a damn shame as the long jump was one of Mario's best tricks in the series. Turns out this was done because the right trigger button that is needed for the long jump is replaced to introduce this game's gimmick, Flood.
A flash liquidizer ultra.
Flood opens Mario's maneuverability to a certain degree, whether if any of these new tricks are beneficial or a limiting hindrance, depending on the player's experience and experimentation. Your basic mechanics are set to 2 different types of nozzles. The first nozzle is your simple spray mechanic mapped to the right trigger button on a GameCube. When pressed down slightly, Mario can use Flood to spray the mysterious goop and other enemies in all directions. When pressed down all the way, or when pressing down a separate button for any controller on the 3D All-Stars version, Mario can stay in one place while also spraying in all directions. There is also this sideways spray trick he can do when pressing the left trigger button and the spray button at the same time while moving. But I barely use this. You can also use it to spray the ground and slide like this. Your other base nozzle is the hover nozzle. This lets Mario hover in mid-air for a few seconds while shooting a powerful amount of water down below. This is mostly used to reach higher areas or correct yourself while platforming because trust me, the latter will be your reasoning for using this nozzle because this game can be glitchy sometimes. Later on, you unlock 2 other new nozzles that, in my opinion, are as situational as the game makes them out to be. The turbo nozzle lets you blast at high speeds and lets you run on water. The rocket nozzle lets you rocket high in the air to even higher heights as the hover nozzle couldn't reach, and lets you do this powerful ground pound that I only used twice. I say these 2 are situational because during the hunt for shine sprites, you're probably only gonna use the base 2 nozzles for 90% of your runtime. Also, whenever you get the turbo or rocket nozzle, the hover nozzle gets replaced. Why? In fact, why couldn't this game let us switch nozzles with the touch of a game's D-pad? You'll also unlock Yoshi in the middle of the game too, but he is just as situational as the turbo and rocket nozzles as well. He sprays his gut juice, much like Flood, and do his signature flutter jump. Why was he here again? He was only used for certain shine sprites. Hell, he felt a lot more useful and versatile in Galaxy 2 than in this game in my opinion. So yeah, that's it for the game's mechanic. Now let's look over at the most exhausting part of the game, shine sprites and blue coin.
The world of special place. Cherish life and never waste.
Everyone loves a sunshiny day. We're gonna keep it that way.
Cause clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean.
The amount of shine sprites in the game are the same as 64, only this time there are lesser places to explore than 64's 55 courses. There are over 7 locations of Isle Delfino to traverse through, and all of them contain 11 shine sprites, 8 episode based shine, 2 hidden shines, and 1 shine being the return of 100 coin missions. This one in particular is even more of a pain in the ass than 64's. Depending on the episode of the stage you're on, you're not guaranteed to gather 100 coins on the first episode. Some levels, if not all of them, are very strict on their coin count and where these coins are played. You gotta be in the right episode if you want 100 coin shine sprite. And if you happen to also complete the episode shine sprite as well as gathering 100 coins, you can't collect both, unlike in 64. Instead, you collect the 100 coin shine, go back to the same area you were in before, and then get that episode shine sprite. This was tiring and it sucks. Was this done to pad out the runtime for the game? It breaks the immersion that you're exploring a tropical setting in 7 different landmarks, and this applies to all the shine sprites in the game. Completing an episode or find a shine sprite within the main hub of the game, you're booted back to the starting point, which kinda makes the game feel repetitive and not in a fun way. Yeah, in games like 64 and the Galaxy games, they're like that too, but at least getting to the next star feels faster than in Sunshine, and have small, manageable hub worlds to move around in. And in the case of 64, the levels are smaller and condensed like a sandbox. In Sunshine, the areas are a little bit bigger, but there are certain missions that lock you to a specific area until you collect your respective shine. In Super Mario 64, you're free to explore the stage and collect stars in any order you seem fit. Rather than following the path that leads to King Babam, why not get this star behind this chain chomp? How about collecting all 8 red coins and getting the 100 coins at the same time? Why not? Nothing is there to restrict your adventurous curiosity of these weird, dreamlike courses. In Sunshine, you are restricted to play episodes 1 through 6 in that order to get that mandatory 7th episode, where you spray Shadow Mario several times for a shine sprite. The 8th episode, the 2 hidden shine sprites, and the 100 coin mission are all deemed optional. No matter how far you're into the game, if you have like half amount of shine sprites in the game already, you need to finish that 7th episode in all 7 locations of Al Delfino. That's bull. This game locks you behind with getting different shines in a different order, and even if you try, you still need to unlock that 7th episode, like how I skipped shine number 1 in the first area of the game, and instead of moving forward and did the 2nd episode mission of fighting PD Piranha. That doesn't matter because you didn't unlock number 7. Plus, being locked behind certain areas to get 1 shine, only to later get booted out the area afterward, it's so much immersion but rather annoying. If it sounded like I was comparing Sunshine a lot to 64, then I'm sorry. It's just that, aside from graphics, there were aspects of 64 that was handled better, primarily how MacGuffins are collected. And don't get me started on the blue coins. Getting them is easy, and you use them for shine sprites if you collect at least 10 of them. You see this graffiti? There's a blue coin behind it. Bluebirds also have blue coins. And there are some that are in the open areas, but then you would get coins that are so cryptic in their location, it makes getting all 240 of them not fun at all. You wanna know why it's not fun to get 100, gather all the blue coins and shine sprite? Look at this. This is what you get for 100% completion. If I end up talking about this postcard, I'll end up burning my house down, so I'm not gonna do that. Now you may think, well, you seem to hate this game with a fiery passion, right? Not exactly. I do like Mario's new maneuverability, even if it doesn't have that long jump. I also like playing with the flood nozzle as well. And there are probably some shine missions that I enjoy, but that's where the next section comes to play.
Helping hand, Mario can't do it alone. He'll spray his water to fly around and clean the sludge that's on the ground.
'Cause clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean.
Super Mario Sunshine, only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
So even if the main goal is to spray Shadow Mario several times on the 7th episode of the 7th location, the Shine Sprite missions are at least kinda fun to play through. So there are some episodes that Shadow Mario steals FUD away from Mario. Because of this, Mario is now slightly limited to what he can do and perform. one platforming over obstacles to get the shine at the end of the stage. There was also this one mission, similar setup, but here you have to traverse through the underside of a stage across the flaming hot goo, with the end of the stage seeing you getting flood back right near where the shine sprite is located. And that's pretty interesting. There's also these two set of missions where you race this one guy, which I guess supposed to be a Legend of Zelda reference, but I'm not sure because I don't play a lot of Zelda games. So when you collect all the shine sprites in all 7 locations, including the sprite you collected when you first arrive at Isle Delfino, that's 78 shine sprites. The remaining 42 are all over the hub of the game, Delfino Plaza. Some sprites require a specific nozzle to get them, while many of them involves you going through certain obstacles that are either easy to get by or will cost you your entire life counter and controller. You know the ones I'm talking about. The pachinko stage where the physics are out of the player's control and these pegs just mess with your direction. This poisonous river, which, don't get me started on how you access it, will be a pain in the ass if you fuck up once. There's also hard shit in the 7 locations as well. This fucking watermelon mission alone made me hate these crackers enemies so much. And these are the enemies that will come back in Mario Galaxy. This sandbird may be majestic, but can be very tricky if you don't time your hover nozzle right. This manta ray boss will fuck you up if you land on them at least once and go boing, boing, and boing, and boing. You'll be flying all over the place and lose a life. These balloons in Pinata Park can die and inflate. I'm a truckster, more like I'm gonna fuck you up, you piece of. Oh my god, I gotta think of something positive. I mean, I do like the tropical setting. As someone who grew up in a tropical setting, this does feel right at home. I do like the hotel area where from a bird's eye view, the circular areas look like a GameCube controller. The inside of the hotel also had this casino area open for select missions. I like how the last location looks at night. It's a nice change of pace compared to every other location taking place in broad daylight. They also have this amusement park, a harbor area that is very platform heavy with this scaffolding. I might hate the Pinata NPCs wherever I go, but I do like the atmosphere of the tropical Mario game, despite the immersion of getting booted out of the game per mission. Plus it's satisfying to abuse the nozzle and see how far it can land platform to platform and clear every goop I find. So remember the missions I mentioned where Mario has to platform without FLUDD? Well, the platforming can be frustrating. I like the surrealism of the background art in some of them. Like this one stage that has background art similar to Yoshi's Island in a way. In fact, the stage with the spinning block is so fun that Mario Galaxy 2 would bring this back in the special world. It has some positives, but like many things in media, sometimes negatives outweigh the bad. Was it unfair to constantly compare Sunshine to 64? Maybe, but my reasoning for those comparisons is still justified and I still stand by them.
Sunshine! Woohoo! Woohoo! Let's go! Yeah! Woo!
So yeah, that's my take and experience with Super Mario Sunshine. What a complicated feeling this is. It's clearly a graphical improvement and a step up in visuals and presentation for 3D Mario games at the time. The tropical setting, while it helped make the game stand out compared to other GameCube games at the time, becomes visually boring if you're playing this for a long period of time. I guess the tropical setting was an excuse for Nintendo to utilize the water physics of the GameCube. Why else was its project named Dolphin? The process of collecting shine sprites and blue coins becomes so exhausting and not fun to 100% complete. At least by getting a minimum requirement amount of shine sprites, it makes this game a little tolerable. But at worst, it locks you at a linear path towards getting all the shines, unlike how 64 lets you nab the power stars in any order you seem fit. But I guess a linear mission structure is what future Mario games like Galaxy 1 and 2 were going for in terms of its mission structure. So I guess I can't criticize about that. Then later drop linearity going into Odyssey. Gee, thanks. Don't get me wrong, the criticism I made does not mean that this is by far the worst Mario game. It's still a great game even. I love playing around the FUD mechanics and there were some of the Shine Sprite missions that I genuinely enjoy, mainly the ones that feature boss fights. In fact, one of my favorite bosses in the game is this one that looks like King Boo, where we fight him in this underground casino. This is also the game that gave us one of the most recognizable bosses in the form of Petey Piranha, and underappreciated as he is. He did make an appearance in Smash Ultimate, so This game has to be worth something, right? And that's it for the video. I want to thank you all for tuning into this video and want to apologize for having you guys wait so long for a brand new Database Network episode. I know I put out an episode last week, but college is still such a bitch. But with college semester being close to over, this gives me more time to focus on putting out more videos like this before the next semester begins. So what are your other games you want me to look at? What are your thoughts on Super Mario Sunshine? Did you manage to complete the game? Let me know down in the comments. Thumbs up the video if you like it, subscribe to the database, and follow me on social media as seen above. I have a new Instagram. Salutations, people of the internet. Welcome to the database. Last year I covered Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine, two of the first 3D Mario games in the series, and 2 out of the 3 games featured in the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection. So it makes sense that I would finish this collection by looking at its third title, Super Mario Galaxy. I remember getting Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii back in the day. I got my Wii as a Christmas gift from my parents back in 2007, a year later after the console's release. And what I got as a tie-in from my memory, aside from Wii Sport, was Super Mario Galaxy, and I think Super Paper Mario. Christmas in 2007 was a blur, and unlike 64 and Sunshine, Galaxy was considered my, and many others, first 3D Mario game. Yeah, I was a little harsh on Sunshine and kinda on 64, because I never grew up with those 2 Mario games. I never owned a GameCube or a Nintendo 64 as a kid, and the Wii was my first home console I ever owned, the Game Boy Advance and DS Lite being my first 2 handhelds. But now we're at the game that I have fond memories of. Has this game aged well as I remember back in the day? Well, let's take a look at Super Mario Galaxy and find out. The idea of Super Mario Galaxy came from the tech demo of Super Mario 128, a tech demo that was presented to show the power of the Nintendo GameCube at Space World 2000. Sigh, how much they improved since the Nintendo 64. Pieces of ideas from Mario 128 were utilizing to create the groundwork of Super Mario Galaxy, mainly its use for moving around terrain. The idea of multiple mini Marios on screen would later become the core idea for Pikmin, a game series that got its start on the GameCube, later spawning a small batch of sequels and an animated short. I never played any of the Pikmin series, but I know there are fans of these games, and maybe I might look over them in the near future. Later, Yoshiaki Koizumi would implement the spherical-based platforming that Mario Galaxy would use in many of their stages. To utilize the functions of the Nintendo Wii, a lot of the games during the console's lifespan use a lot of motion controls. For Super Mario Galaxy, this comes in a Wiimote's IR sensor as a cursor to navigate through the game, and the motion controls were slated to be simple commands, specifically shaking the remote. Galaxy is also the first of many games on the Wii to have the Wiimote use the nunchuck add-on that's bundled with the console. Considering how much of a gap there was between the skill levels of 64 and Sunshine, Nintendo wanted to create a game that is more mainstream towards its accessibility for all skill levels, having it staged while linear but also simple in gameplay control. And while the spherical level design can be seen as a visual headache for some, they are at least slow and comfortable for the eyes. Combine all these groundworks and ideas in mind, mix with a story on a grander scale, and you have Super Mario Galaxy. The story of Super Mario Galaxy starts with a celebration within the Mushroom Kingdom called the Star Festival, as Princess Peach invites Mario over to the festival to give a special gift. In comes Bowser and his army to take the princess once more. Of course, seeing as he learned his lesson from taking over the castle from 64, he decides to steal the entire castle instead, setting off to outer space. Mario gets blasted off the premises of the castle and sees himself on a remote planet containing Lumas that you have to chase around for a few minutes, as well as a protector of the cosmos, Rosalina. She immediately becomes a fan favorite of mine in the Mario franchise, thanks to this game alone. She has this backstory that you slowly unlock as you progress the game, which is somewhat parts heartwarming and some parts tearjerk that it makes me cry at the end. I won't spoil anything from this side story, but I highly recommend checking it out if you're a fan of her character. Rosalina will give you the same white Luma that Peach was carrying in the beginning, and thus grant you the spin ability that is not an inspiration from Crash Bandicoot at all. Back on the Wii, you use this ability to attack enemies and break objects with a swing of the Wiimotes, but here on the 3D All-Stars collection, it's not only that, but also an assigned button. God damn it. After dabbing the first of many Power Stars, or in this case, one of 7 Grand Stars, you're greeted to this game's hub world, the Comet Observatory. Rosalina says that the observatory was once a moving vessel that traveled the cosmos. However, their energy source, the Power Stars, were stolen by Bowser, and thus the ship is stuck in limbo. So from this point going forward, Mario is tasked to collect enough Power Stars to power up the observatory, at least enough to rescue Peach at the center of the universe. The minimal star count being 60 stars out of 121, that's generous. By defeating Bowser at the center of the universe, a planet collapses. The universe begins to collapse along with it, and thus a black hole is created. The white Luma that was with Mario along with all the other Lumas enter the black hole and technically cause a universal reset. Shit, eat your heart out, Father Pucci. Rosalina states that stars that die, new stars will be born, thus recreating the universe, aka Super Mario Galaxy 2 and onward. Mario, Peach, and Bowser return to the Mushroom Kingdom now in a new universe, and that was the story of Super Mario Galaxy. You sure this isn't Stone Ocean? The pacing of this story likes to take things slow. You're traveling across the depths of the unknown, so it's best that the players are taking the time or a breather to take in the atmosphere that they're launched into. This is especially known in the Gateway Galaxy and the Good Egg Galaxy, 2 stages that are basically tutorials to your overall adventure. While we're on the subject of galaxies, let's talk about those and the gameplay next. Much like Super Mario Sunshine, Galaxy's progression of getting this game's MacGuffins is still linear, but I did bash on the concept of linearity back in my Sunshine video, but here, I guess it's fine enough. Unlike where Sunshine has large sized areas for you to explore, yet you follow a linear process of getting the shines, Galaxy changes that. Rather than having a large area, you are given a set path to get to the Power Star through series of planets that Mario can walk around. Each Galaxy stage consists of 6 to 7 Power Stars, 3 of those stars being the normal missions going from point A to point B, whether the stage ends with you completing a certain task before earning a Power Star, or just reaching the end point of the stage, or from a boss fight. Other stars include 3 green stars that unlock the 3 trial galaxies, and a red Power Star you get from using the Red Star ability. The other 3 or 2 stars coming from this game's new Prankster Comet missions. The Prankster Comet serves to give previously known stages from the normal missions and give them a unique challenge. Each Prankster Comet is assigned a coded color to indicate what type of challenge you're in for. Red Comets are speedrunning challenges where you must complete a stage within a time limit. Blue Comets are where you race a cosmic clone of Mario. Yellow Comets are challenges where the entire stage becomes very fast and normal. And my favorite, the White Comet, are Daredevil challenges where you beat a stage or boss fight without getting hit. Purple Comets replace the 100 coin challenge with 100 purple coins that are preset laid out across the stage. Some are given a time limit to collect them, while most of them are very linear in collecting them, or stage that take forever and have you search for them across the whole stage. You unlock other galaxies by collecting certain amount of Power Stars, which never became a problem for me, because I always have more than enough stars for the next stage, and more enough to reach the center of the universe. You select the galaxy you want to go by going through the Cosmic Observatory, and go inside one of 6 domes that host multiple galaxies. The terrace, the fountain, the kitchen, the bedroom, the engine room, and the garden. Psst. This is a secret room. Each dome consists of 2 large-sized galaxies that host 6 to 7 Power Stars, and 2 smaller portion galaxies that host 1 or sometimes 2 Power Stars. Outside each dome consists of 1 Hungry Luma, where you can access another small portion galaxy, as long as you have a certain amount of star bits on standby. Star bits are colorful little rocks that you can collect by going to them, or taking the use of the Wiimote's or Joy-Con's motion controls and Wiimote's IR sensor. These star bits can grant you 1-ups if you collect 50, and can also be used as ammunition to stun small enemies. Mario's maneuverability has taken a new overhaul this time around. His jumps are a little floatier than 64 and Sunshine, which makes a lot of sense given that our adventure is in space. His long jump has returned from 64, and wow, I love using this here more than 64. Now, I know that that's a hot take for all you 64 speedrunners out there, but believe me, as a kid playing this game, this was the coolest version of the long jump I ever used. Same goes with the backflip and crouch button, but these moves pale in comparison to the Bandicoot spin. The spin maneuver is the one feature that makes Mario Galaxy stand out. The spin can be used in many scenarios, the main use being the attack of enemies close by and for a high jump and vertical distance when platforming. Other use of the spin includes homing into enemies through a ground pound. This can be done by spinning in the air and immediately pressing the ground pound button afterwards. The power-ups in this game take inspiration from 2D Mario games as temporary items that can be used in certain sections in the game. The Fire Flower from 2D Mario games makes their transition into 3D smoothly, as they let Mario create fire projectiles that bounce around the stage. Ice Flowers transform Mario into Iceman and let Mario ski above water. Spring Mario limits your moveset and automatically bounces you around, but lets you jump higher than a triple jump could ever could. There is also the Rainbow Star that is basically like the Starman power-up from the classics. And then there's Beam Mario that lets you fly slowly and climb on honeys. For some reason, you're also attracted to cockroaches. Boom Mario turns Mario into a ghost and lets you fight through walls. Finally, there is this Red Star power-up, and man, what a cool yet such a useless power-up. This lets Mario fly, stop in mid-air to adjust his direction, and spin to grab things in air. This power-up is used for one power star and in the hub world. Why the was this power-up a thing if they decide to do this? Speaking of the classics, you can also find 1-up mushrooms and the all-new 6 HP mushroom that increases your HP count from 3 to 6 for certain missions. Makes no fucking sense because 64 and Sunshine had more HP than this, but okay. You also have Koopa shells that are useful underwater, and for some missions you have this bubble to traverse through obstacles. Speaking of obstacles, Galaxy has two gameplay styles that use motion controls. There's this ball that Mario balances on, while the guidance of the provided background music, and the Manta Ray surfing missions where you steer left and right to race across the wavy water. You only need 60 stars to complete the entire story of Super Mario Galaxy, but that doesn't stop you from collecting all the stars along the way. Many of the stars in this game are easy to collect. This is all thanks to the quick previews before each mission that indicate your end goal. Other stars can be very challenging, mainly because you're forced into a different gameplay style entirely. Looking at you, Trial Galaxies. I enjoy many of the boss fights in Galaxy, compared to the bosses in 64 and Sunshine. This was especially thanks to the game's new orchestrated background music. Literally a full-size orchestra composed the soundtrack for this game. Thank God the soundtrack for this game is available on the 3D All-Stars collection and online, because for Christ's sake, I'm not buying the physical copy. The boss fights aren't the only ones that are backed by orchestra music. Most of the stages have this style of music too. For the first stage you enter, the Good Egg Galaxy, to the fan favorite Gusty Garden Galaxy. We also get quieter musical tracks to hear during Space Jump Galaxy and the Luma theme song. The music of the final stage, the center of the universe, really emphasized that this is the fight against Bowser that has now reached a new level in terms of stakes, compared to the melodramatic stakes from Sunshine. By 100%ing the main campaign as Mario, by collecting all 120 Power Stars in Super Mario Galaxy, you receive an additional unlockable campaign, this time playing as Luigi. This marks Luigi's debut appearance in the mainline 3D Mario game, not including the spin-off Luigi's Mansion. His physics can be very similar to how he played in the classic Mario games, with Luigi having a higher jump, as well as slippery traction. While you still collect the same 120 stars as before, at the time when Galaxy came out, this was a cool idea. Though I did say you actually need to collect 120 stars to unlock Luigi, because once you finish Luigi's campaign of collecting his 120 stars, you will unlock the last and 121st star for both campaigns, whereas just Mario and Luigi collecting 100 purple coins across the Star Festival from the beginning of the game. Is this the last stage? Kinda lame, yeah, but I see this as a nice relaxing finale to an already epic adventure across the stars. In fact, once you collect all 120 stars in both campaigns, you're gifted a nice and cute photo of Peach taking a picture of Mario and Luigi. For the Wii, this was sent to your Wii message board, but for the Switch, this is sent to your album folder. So yeah, there isn't a whole lot to unlock as a reward for a 100% completion, except for the Rosalina side backstory that you can unlock during progression. No boss rush mode or anything special like a way to watch cutscenes, except for these 2 nifty crowns and a shiny profile. That's it. Okay, yeah, let's wrap it up. So that was Super Mario Galaxy, the first 3D Mario game I ever played as a kid. And I definitely agreed to my kid self that this game still aged well to this day. This game is visually gorgeous, especially for a game that came out on the Nintendo Wii in 2007. While the game is more linear than Sunshine in 64, it makes up for it by letting the players explore every nook and cranny of each planet-side stage for tons of star bits and other goodies. The platforming is satisfying, mainly thanks to Mario's new jump spin. Never thought I knew how much height I could get thanks to this new ability. Yeah, I did say in my Super Mario Sunshine video that I enjoy abusing the hover nozzle, but that too has its cons time to time. One of them having to turn left and right while hovering, and your momentum can be very ficky when platforming. And Galaxy has a set of cons too, like some of the Prankster Comet missions being lame on paper in execution, and the fact that you play the entire campaign again as Luigi with no major changes whatsoever. And of course, the power-ups are as more situational than the alternate nozzles from Sunshine and the different caps from 64. So, my final grade for Super Mario Galaxy will be a solid A. It's still a great game, regardless of its cons. Though I do see a lot of people getting a bit exhausted completing the game while playing as the taller brother. And yes, starting this season, you'll be seeing the grade for each game and show that I review, as well as a list of pros and cons listed on screen. I'll give you time to read them all. This was something that I first established way back in my Sonic Frontiers video. Okay, so I reviewed everything for the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, but Super Mario Galaxy 2 is not on there, so how am I supposed to capture footage from the 3D Mario games now? Well, I guess I could figure that one out in due time. For now, when the time comes, I'll be skipping games like Galaxy 2 and 3D Land on the 3DS. And for my next Mario game on this list, we'll be taking a look at Super Mario 3D World, as well as its updated version on the Switch that features Bowser's Fury. After that, we may be looking over Super Mario Odyssey afterwards. Who knows, time will tell. Thumbs up the video if you like it, subscribe to the database, and follow me on social media as seen above. I'm Christopher James, and I'll see you next time.